Let me tell you something, man. Vince McMahon hates every single one of you. He hates you. He hates me. He hates the WWE Universe. How do I know this? All you have to do is watch Monday Night Raw and see the creative actions of Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon. With the latest situation revolving around the Hurt Business and the breakup of Monday Night Raw's most popular faction. Why exactly did the Hurt Business get broken up on Monday Night Raw? Bobby Lashley, MVP, Cedric Alexander, and Shelton Benjamin all creatively stated their case as to why it was too early to break up the Hurt Business. You even have the likes of Batista on social media claiming that it was too early to break up the Hurt Business. What was the backstage morale due to this terrible creative decision, and why exactly did Vince McMahon break up the Hurt Business on Monday Night Raw? Also, WWE has claimed that next week's Smackdown is a WrestleMania edition of Smackdown. But what is it exactly, and why did WWE put the tag team titles and the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on next Friday's show? What is the mentality going into next weekend's WrestleMania 37? And Andrade shoots on WWE. I got all the juicy details on Andrade's shoot interview following his WWE release. All this plus so much more right here on episode 371 of Off the Script. What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is episode 371 for your Saturday, April 3rd, 2021. This is the literal last stop on the road to WrestleMania as far as Off the Script is concerned. We got a lot to go over today. And we have big Andrade news. We have big Buddy Murphy news. We got big Aleister Black news. I got big WrestleMania news. I got big Road Dogg news. I got WWE breaking up the Hurt Business and why Vince McMahon hates every single one of you. It's going to be a good show, man. It's going to be a good show. But next week is very daunting, to say the least. I still have no idea what I'm doing as far as WrestleMania week is concerned. I know Monday Night Raw. I know the NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver show is happening on Wednesday and Thursday, which still, to me, is just very weird to have 2 nights of TakeOver when everything that they're doing could legitimately be done in one night. We don't need it, but here we are. NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. I don't know where I'm going to fit AEW Dynamite and the post-show in during the week. Then we got Smackdown, that WrestleMania edition of Smackdown, which is a complete goddamn joke. And then WrestleMania Saturday and Sunday, which is going to be a major deal for the channel. We did almost 5,000 live viewers last year. I'm expecting more of the same. It's going to be awesome. And then right back to the Raw after WrestleMania, and then NXT debuting on Tuesday the following week. It's going to be crazy, man. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to get a schedule ready for you guys sometime this weekend, maybe tomorrow, and I'm going to post it on social media, my Twitter and my Instagram, so you guys know what exactly is coming. Obviously, I do streaming on Twitch as well, so I don't know if I'm going to integrate video gaming in during the week or not. I might do a day or two, but I might actually integrate some pro wrestling stuff on Twitch as well. Maybe a watch along here and there. I'm thinking about doing a watch along for the Hall of Fame on Tuesday night. There's just so much shit going on. So I will give you guys a clear direction as to where I am going as soon as I know on Sunday. And I'm going to come up with a schedule for you guys so you can follow along right here, making this the number one place to be in the entire IWC for WrestleMania week. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Like I said, we have a lot to go over, but quickly, let me get the usual shit out of the way. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JD from NY206. It's going to be the place to be all week to kind of just fill yourself in on what's going on. If you got, the wrestling thing going on your end and you want my live reactions, my in real-time thoughts, go and check out social media. Obviously, all the news and all the uploads during the week will be pushed to that feed as well on Twitter. So it's going to be definitely the number one hub for all your information as far as this show is concerned. Make sure you go and support the Patreon page as well, man. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. We got some new patrons over there. T-shirts being given away for signing up. We got the official Off the Script baseball bat beer mugs. Now that opening day has come and gone. We got the MLB season underway. What a great gift, man. Get yourself an Off the Script baseball bat beer mug. That is patreon.com/JD from NY206. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Hit the thumbs up. Every little bit helps. You're helping me out by doing those simple things. If you guys want your t-shirts, bonfire.com is the exclusive home of JD from New York and Off the Script. Go and get yourself a nice JD is Negan version 2 t-shirt or any of the logo shirts that are on the website there, bonfire.com. If you guys want your masks, mouthmasker.com is the home. That's mouthmasker.com/OTS for your black and white Off the Script masks. That is your direct link to that stuff there. Go and check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel. We got a ton of content. All the live streams up on the channel. Raw, AEW, Friday Night Smackdown, you name it, it's there. Go and check it out. I really appreciate you guys and all the support you've been giving me for the live streams. It's awesome every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And today's show is sponsored by my great friends over at The Ridge. They've been with me all WrestleMania season. The Ridge is number one in simplifying your life, streamlining your daily life every single day, man, and I love it. It's the nicest wallet I've ever owned, but they do more than wallets. They got knives, they got backpacks, they got anything you need on there, man. Believe me, it is a great product, and I wouldn't have them a part of the team if they weren't a great product. That is ridge.com/script10. And you guys are going to use code script10 at checkout to save yourself 10% off anything and everything on their website. And I want to thank them for supporting, once again, the podcast right here on Off the Script. Let's start at the top, man. Want to go over some stories that I covered in the last episode of the podcast, kind of as a follow-up here. News on the Road Dogg, Brian James. As you guys know, he suffered a heart attack, and his wife came out on social media on Thursday night to fill everybody in on what is going on with the DOGG. He returned home from working the NXT TV show the day before in Orlando, Florida, and she since took to Facebook to provide an update and noted that her husband has no blockages of the heart, and he was released from the hospital this week. She wrote on Facebook, and I quote, "Want to give everybody an update. I just got the best birthday ever. My husband has no blockages, and he's getting home today, and we still have some doctor visits to take him to, but his heart is good. Thank you all so much for the prayers. I do believe in that," end quote. Although not confirmed, it's likely he will miss NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, which, like I said, is a 2-night special on USA and WWE Network via Peacock. And I'm just glad that he's happy and healthy and home. That's it. Road Dogg is back home. That's the most important thing here. He's a big part of the behind-the-scenes aspect of NXT. He is definitely a part of the creative team over there on Triple H's side of things. But he is home, and he is on the road to recovery, and that is all we can ask for. So clearly, that is good news as far as the Road Dogg is concerned. We got news on the Yuengling Center, WWE's new home, after they are finished at Tropicana Field, being that Tropicana Field will be used for the Tampa Bay Rays and all of their home games this season. WWE's moving into the Yuengling Center, and Sports Illustrated reported earlier this week that WWE does not have any plans to tour throughout the first half, at least, of 2021. It was added that WWE will stay with the Thunderdome setup while gauging the possibility of returning to a weekly live event model or not. It's looking like not only will WWE be at the Yuengling Center for several months, but will do so without any fans. The Yuengling Center's official website now lists the WWE's Thunderdome and its occupancy as a closed set. This is where it was noted that WWE will be there until August 3rd, and fans are not permitted to attend. I don't like that. I really don't like that, especially if you're operating in the state of Florida and everybody around you, as far as sports are concerned, UFC, MLB, NBA, they have at least a small gathering of fans. I honestly think we need to start moving on from this because, AEW is suffering from low ratings, and it's not because the television is bad. It's never really Monday Night Raw levels of bad. People are not watching AEW on Wednesday night because I do believe the sameness factor is affecting the ratings on Wednesday night. Not only with AEW, but with NXT as well. I do think that people are tired of watching the same show every single week in the same venue with the same setup, with no fans, with the same faces, the same people on the roster standing by ringside, doing what they usually got to do to give some life to the show. It is so just, for me to find the right word, the sameness factor kills it. Honestly, it gives me a sense of, man, I'm not excited about this because there really isn't any real genuine energy there. And I honestly think that AEW, first and foremost, needs to get out of Daly's place. I really do. Same thing with WWE. The Thunderdome setup is fine. It's great for what it is. But looking at the virtual geeks on the big screens doesn't really do anything for me as a viewer goes. As far as a viewer perspective, it's fine for what it is because it gives off a big WWE feel, but you know that you're hearing the piped-in audience. You know that you're hearing fake reactions. You know that WWE is legitimately in the control center doing everything to their liking. I hate the fact that fans can't control these shows anymore. You're getting what WWE wants you to get. You're getting what WWE wants in the end. We have no control over anything anymore. So it sounds like WrestleMania may be the only time this year right now that we may have fans in attendance for a WWE show. And it sounds like the WWE may not have fans again, live fans, in attendance until SummerSlam. That's a little bit too much, man. I think WWE needs to get out of this comfort zone and really start experimenting with bringing at least 15 to 20% capacity into the Yuengling Center or into a venue, period, to give these shows a different feel than what we've been getting for over a year and a half. I think people are well past their expiration date on this shit. I really do. And the shows are going to benefit from it as well from just an audible standpoint. The shows creatively are going to be the same. It doesn't matter where they are or who's there. Shows are going to be the same, but I want live fans to kind of guide us on what we're watching. Right now, we have no guidance except what Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon want you to like and what they want you to hear. It sucks. So it looks like WWE may not have fans until SummerSlam following WrestleMania. The DX parody of the Nation of Domination has been removed from the WWE Network. You knew this was going to happen. WWE Network is deleting, at least for the next 5 years, you won't be seeing this shit, deleting offensive and racist content from WWE Network now that they are part of Peacock. The DX parody of the Nation of Domination. We got the Roddy Piper and Bad News Brown match, promo, vignettes, everything for that match pulled. We got the live sex celebration with Edge and Lita removed. And God knows what else is going to be removed in the weeks to come as Peacock scours through 17,000 hours of WWE content to find offensive content to fit their standards and practices. Now, the DX parody of the Nation of Domination is classic. I don't give a shit who you are. If you did not laugh at that, if you watch that and still to this day don't laugh at that, I don't know. I don't know if you're a true wrestling fan, man. That is what we grew up on. That was classic material. One of the best and funniest moments in all of Monday Night Raw history. So why would you go out there and actively remove something that is so historic as far as Monday Night Raw is concerned because of what's happening in the world in 2021? I don't really understand it. If you find it offensive, then don't watch it. If Peacock wants to remove it, I think they're actually doing a disservice to the WWE audience. If Peacock wants to put something on the screen as far as offensive content is concerned, or give a nice statement before you actually go and watch, maybe they could do something like that and put a graphic on the screen saying that they don't really condone this type of behavior. Watch at your own risk or view at your own risk. Something along those lines. That would be better than just omitting the entire fucking thing and changing history because you don't agree with what happened 25 years ago. It's pathetic, to be quite honest with you. I'd always go back and watch old promos or old skits like that and still laugh to this day. Are we just going to change history because all of a sudden the world has changed now and everybody became soft and everybody is now easily offended by shit that they shouldn't be offended by? I still watch Family Guy to this day, and you guys know that Family Guy was very, very egregious in their content. Very. You got that block of season 5 up to about season 8, 9, everything in between, man. I still watch that shit and I still laugh my ass off. I'll go back and watch Married with Children and I'll still laugh my ass off, man. That is classic television. That doesn't mean that I agree with what's happening. I just know comedy and I can differentiate comedy and comedy skits from real life. Put up a graphic and say, hey, listen, watch at your own risk or something along those lines instead of going out there and justifying your beliefs and instilling them on other people because you think it's right. It's quite sad. So the DX parody of the Nation of Domination is removed from the WWE Network. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you must be living in a cave. But let me reiterate this to you. Triple H played the role of The Rock. Billy Gunn played the role of The Godfather. Road Dogg had a hilarious D'Lo Brown impersonation. He called himself, instead of D'Lo, he called himself B-Lo. And Jason Sensation played a fantastic Owen Hart. And Sean Waltman dressed as Mark Mizark Henry. Waltman had his face painted black for the segment. There you go. So, WrestlingNews.co was told that more edits to past shows are expected, and then they will be handed off to Peacock. As noted last week, both Peacock and WWE are reviewing offensive content, and Peacock is touting itself as a family-friendly streaming service. Both Peacock and WWE have recently removed the Roddy Piper vs. Bad News Brown match from WrestleMania 6 and Piper's pre-match interview because Piper painted his body half black and half white, which was ridiculous anyway. So it is what it is, man. Both streaming services have also removed the segment from the Survivor Series 2005 where Vince McMahon used the N-word to John Cena, I believe. And we're told that the main reason why it will take some time to get most of the older content up on Peacock is that they have a team that will be reviewing every show, and 17,000 hours of WWE content will be reviewed. So that's that. I don't agree with it, but I think everybody should have assumed moving to Peacock that this was going to be a thing. So Vince sold the quality of his WWE content to be put in the hands of somebody else for them to review everything that they've done, and now they are no longer a sole priority to themselves, independent on the WWE Network, where people could go back and watch this type of stuff. Now you're with somebody like NBC Universal, and everything's going to be changed. So you sold your WWE product for a cool $1 billion. There you go. I think everybody should have expected this somewhere down the line, but that's how greedy Vince McMahon is, because he knows he has no other ways to make money for himself and the company. I guess it's a good business move if you really want to think about it. Speaking of the WWE Network, man, there was a bombshell that was dropped this week. Chris Jericho will be a guest on the Stone Cold Broken Skull Sessions, and it will air on April 11th. April 11th, before WrestleMania. Unbelievable. People were blown away by this announcement. Now, everybody's speculating as to why Jericho is on the Stone Cold podcast. It did not take long to find out the reason and find the reason as to why Jericho was invited to be on a WWE program on the WWE Network while being employed and contracted by AEW. WWE shocked fans on Friday by announcing Chris Jericho will appear on the Steve Austin Broken Skull Sessions on April 11th. This is going to be exclusively streamed on Peacock. Shortly after the news was made, Sports Illustrated published an interview with Austin, who detailed how this appearance with Jericho all came about. Austin started out by recalling having a beer one night after his Broken Skull Sessions interview with The Undertaker had aired on the network. Jericho then reached out to him, texted him, and praised the episode and how he loved it. Austin responded with some emojis, and then Jericho picked up the phone and actually called Steve Austin. They started talking, and Austin put over Jericho for the career he's had, in addition to helping out the younger talent in All Elite Wrestling. He then texted Vince McMahon, did Steve Austin, about the possible appearance. I said, I'd love to have you on the show. And he said he'd love to do it. So I checked with Vince about it. I texted Vince and said, we have this badass idea about Jericho coming on the show. Austin stated that Vince goes, all right, it's cool. Go ahead. But me and Vince don't always do well with phones and texts and all that. So I texted one more time and I asked, are you sure it is okay to have Chris Jericho on the show? Vince gave me the thumbs up and Chris came out to do the show. End quote. Now, I was shocked when I seen this. I was legitimately shocked. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. People were already out there saying that this is equivalent to Hall and Nash showing up on a WWE show while Nitro and Raw were in the middle of a war back in 1997. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's no similarities, because there is. But it's absolutely nowhere near the same thing. None. This is not like the Raw and Nitro Monday Night Wars. The AEW and NXT Wars are a fucking pimple on the Monday Night Wars ass. It's not the same. Similarity is there, but it's not anywhere close to being the same. Now, my initial thought was, does Stone Cold Steve Austin have a lot to say as to what he wants on the show? This is his show, and he does it the way he wants. I don't think Steve Austin would really take bullshit from anybody, including Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon needs Steve Austin because this is quality content on the network, and now that they're moving to Peacock, Peacock's going to want as many exclusive shows and shows like this on their network to drive people to sign up to Peacock. So I wondered immediately how Stone Cold Steve Austin had gotten Jericho on the show. Was this a Stone Cold Steve Austin thing? Right out of the gate, I think a lot of people were in the same mentality as me. This is not a WWE thing. This is not a WWE thing. Vince would never approve this. Management would never approve this. And then I see this explanation by Stone Cold Steve Austin where he actually went to ask Vince about it. And he said yes. And I don't know what Vince is thinking now. I don't know what Vince is going to be thinking when he sees the interview. But I'm pretty certain that Vince McMahon and Steve Austin had an additional conversation about what Vince doesn't want said on the show, because at the end of the day, this is a WWE production and everything everything goes through Vince McMahon. I guarantee you, everybody knows where Jericho works. Everybody knows. The roster knows, fans know, everybody knows Chris Jericho and what he does for a living and where he works. He works out of Jacksonville. I don't think anything of Jacksonville will be mentioned on this podcast interview, this sit-down interview with Steve Austin. I think this is more than enough for WWE to get that exclusivity with Peacock, and they're going to keep it to WWE-related content specifically. Nothing about AEW will be mentioned on this show. I can pretty much guarantee you that. If it is, which is a slight possibility, I would be shocked. But this is going to be mostly about Jericho's WWE career. And my God, he's got so much to talk about that you might not even need to dive into AEW. Because what he's done in WWE could fill a 3-hour, 4-hour show in itself. It could fit 2 episodes like The Undertaker did in itself. So Jericho, Steve Austin getting together WrestleMania weekend. How fucking great is that, man? How great, how smart does Jericho look in the end? AEW's not doing anything except for a non-televised house show on Friday before WrestleMania weekend. And here Jericho is weaseling himself in to WrestleMania weekend somehow by sitting down with Steve Austin on the Sunday of night 2 of WrestleMania. Giving off that vibe of, hey, here I am. I work for these guys. You know that, but here I am. Jericho is a walking billboard for AEW. He doesn't even need to mention anything about AEW. You know. So when you see Jericho, you're thinking AEW and WWE second. Plus, this is good for Steve Austin. He gets another quality guest that everybody loves. This is great for Peacock. They get exclusivity for another great sit-down podcast with Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Randy Orton one was great. The Undertaker one was great. The Sasha one was great. This works for everybody. This works for everybody, man. This is Jericho being Jericho again, and Jericho just kind of, I don't want to say, inching that forbidden door open. This is not leading to a WWE partnership in any which way. This is just Jericho doing what Jericho does best. He loves to be in the mind and in the eyes of everybody around him. And Jericho's one of the smartest men in the business. This is just another check mark on his already impressive resume. WWE disappointed with WrestleMania 37 ticket sales 1 week before the show. According to Dave Meltzer in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, people within WWE are disappointed with the ticket sales for both nights of WrestleMania 37 next weekend. Ticket sales went on sale for both shows last month, and WWE is said to have been disappointed that they didn't sell out immediately. However, Meltzer explains that due to the lack of international travel, this should not be too alarming for WWE management. He says, and I quote, live ticket event sales sold almost completely in pre-sale. At press time 9 days before the show, there were 1,000 tickets left for Saturday and 809 tickets for Sunday. So both will almost certainly sell out of their allotted tickets that were originally put on sale. We still don't know what that number is. We do know that expectations were that they would do a UFC 261 like immediately selling out with huge demand for the first events back with ticketed fans due to the pent-up demand. And there is disappointment that that did not happen. But it's a weird time. Less people are willing to travel, in particular coming from the key overseas markets. And that is a very difficult thing to do with all of the quarantine rules. End quote. There's no doubt in my mind that WrestleMania is going to sell out. I mean, that's not really a lot of tickets for WrestleMania. The one thing that really stood out to me is that there were more tickets left for Saturday than there were Sunday, which goes to kind of justify what I said. And I think a lot of people agree that night 2 is much better than night 1. And night 2 is definitely much more of the must-see night than night 1 is. But I don't know why WWE would be so disappointed with ticket sales. You know, we are still in the middle of a pandemic, and WWE is running this WrestleMania show at 25,000 seats. I don't know if they're going to exceed that for both nights, but night 1, night 2, 25,000. That's 50,000 in a stadium that sits 65,000 people with the WrestleMania stage being set up. So I think they're doing a very good job at getting to, the WrestleMania show, getting it to be sold out. People are still afraid to travel. People are still afraid to travel. Plus, like Meltzer said, the overseas market. And a lot of people just don't want to go to a venue and deal with all the bullshit restrictions. Masks, pods, COVID tests. You got to show proof of a negative test. You got to have a fucking vaccination passport scanned. Nobody wants to deal with this shit. Nobody wants to go to a fucking show and have a laundry list of things that they got to show just to fucking sit there. When the comfort of your own home is the best seat in the house. People are still afraid to travel. They might not be ready to be amongst people. There's a lot of different factors here. Plus the ticket sales, being that there is limited amount of tickets being sold, God knows how much the tickets are actually going for. So why would you want to spend all that type of money when maybe you don't have that type of money? Maybe you got laid off. Maybe you got a new job in the middle of the pandemic and you're not making as much money as you did before the pandemic. There are a lot of factors as to why people aren't going to these shows, and there are a lot of factors as to why WWE hasn't sold out yet. And this is a big deal as well. Maybe people just don't give a shit about the goddamn product. Maybe people are like me, and the majority of the people feel the same way that I do, that this WrestleMania season sucks. Maybe they're waiting for next year's WrestleMania in hopes that the build and the stories going into WrestleMania would be a lot better. Who would want to spend that type of money, then deal with the restrictions on a below average WrestleMania that on paper looks awful? If you watch the show, if you watch Raw and SmackDown, you would see that the build for this show doesn't even represent a WrestleMania. So why would you want to go to something that doesn't represent WrestleMania? If you think that this feels like WrestleMania season, my God, you must be the biggest noob in the entire community. This shit sucks. I'm not excited for WrestleMania. I would never in 1,000 lifetimes spend my hard-earned money to sit there and watch this fucking sham of a WrestleMania. And it just gets worse every single fucking year. It gets worse. The effort is less and less and less every single year. Why would you give these people your money? There are better things to wait for. Wait for next year's WrestleMania. Wait for Los Angeles in 39. Wait for Vegas in 40. Don't waste your money on this shit. WWE legitimately put no effort into anything that they did at this WrestleMania this season. Mixed with all the other things, it's not a very difficult reason to believe why this show has not been sold out. WWE likes to, oh my God, doom is me, doom and gloom. Give me a break. Woe is me. Give me a break, man. There are other things going on. WWE in the middle of a fucking pandemic is not a goddamn priority. You're lucky you got anybody coming to the fucking show, seeing how this show's been built up. I miss live fans too. I miss concerts. I miss entertainment venues. I miss sporting events, but I'm not going to rush out to watch something this subpar. Come on, man. WWE. They've talked about not having a kickoff show for WrestleMania 37 as far as night one is concerned. Now, traditionally, WWE will book 1 or 2 matches on the kickoff show for WrestleMania. However, the first night of WrestleMania 37 may not feature this, and there's a reason behind it. WrestleVotes reported this week that WWE Creative has talked about not having a kickoff show for the first night due to them wanting to save the first entrance for the main show. Up until this point, the company has not had fans in attendance at shows for over a year. Hearing something is interesting, says WrestleVotes. WWE may not feature a match on the WrestleMania kickoff show for night one, as the first entrance back in front of fans is being looked at as a huge deal. It's not decided at all, but definitely a conversation happening within creative. Now, very rarely do I agree with WWE, but this is totally the right mentality to have. WWE needs to make this entrance a big deal. It is legitimately the first entrance. It's almost as if you're starting all over again. WrestleMania is your first event in a brand new promotion. This is legitimately going to be looked at the light at the end of the tunnel. And WWE needs to make it a big deal. They're not going to waste an entrance for a fucking battle royal on Humberto Carrillo or Jackson Riker or Elias or any of these scrubs that sit in catering. They're not going to do that. It's going to be for a big name, and it's going to be for a big match, and it's going to be for a big deal. And there's not many people on night one that legitimately should be bestowed that honor. Now, it also could really lend to the reason why WWE is giving us the Battle Royal and the tag team titles on Friday for Smackdown, because they're not doing a pre-show on Saturday, and whatever you're seeing on Friday was indeed going to be the pre-show, and everything that WrestleVotes is saying is legit. Could be the reason why we're getting the Friday night WrestleMania edition of SmackDown next week. Now, who exactly is going to get this entrance? Who exactly is going to be getting this entrance? I could see the New Day getting that entrance. AJ Styles could absolutely get that entrance, but I don't think WWE should do that. Could be. They could be the guys to open the show. I could see it, but I wouldn't do it. Normally, I don't like opening up a big-time pay-per-view with a major world championship match. But this year, I'm going to make an exception. Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins did it and ended up working out well for WWE. It really set the tone for WrestleMania that year where Rollins won the WWE title. I'm going to do the same thing. If I'm in charge, I'm going to do the same thing this year. Drew McIntyre should set the tone for WrestleMania 37 right out of the gate. Drew McIntyre should be the first entrance that people see at WrestleMania, the first show with live fans in attendance in well over a year. Why? Because he had his big moment last year. He had his big moment last year in an empty gymnasium, beating Brock Lesnar for the WWE title, and nobody was there to celebrate with him. Drew McIntyre is the perfect guy to open WrestleMania because he didn't have that opportunity last year, so why not start the show with him this year and do the WWE title match with Bobby Lashley, giving WrestleMania 37 that tone with Drew McIntyre winning the title from Bobby Lashley right out of the gate in the opening match. Then you guys can actually do right by the Royal Rumble and have Bianca Belair, who won the Royal Rumble, actually main event WrestleMania with Sasha Banks. Edge won the Royal Rumble. Edge is in the main event of Night 2 of WrestleMania, so why isn't Bianca Belair winner of the Royal Rumble in the main event of WrestleMania? Now, I know the storyline isn't really main event WrestleMania-esque, but she did win the Royal Rumble. That's not our fault. That's not Bianca's fault. That's not Sasha's fault. She won the Royal Rumble. So Bianca should main event WrestleMania. And WWE has the right time to do it this year because we may never get another two-night WrestleMania ever again. You got it this year. Why don't you do right by Bianca and the Rumble and do that in the main event? Drew should definitely be the guy to lead WWE and really portray this as the light at the end of the tunnel and us getting back to normal. He should be the main figurehead for WWE starting WrestleMania and giving us that big grand entrance to start the show this year. So I think that's exactly what WWE should do. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about that. There's nobody else better than Drew McIntyre. Now, the reason why the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is not taking place at WrestleMania 37, A, it's trash. I don't think it really should be on WrestleMania, period. But WWE likes to do things that go against what the fans want. Now, I mentioned this on SmackDown on Friday night during the post show. I ranted on this, and I ranted big on this. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is a fucking waste of time. It really is. And I'm going to reiterate what I said there. WrestleMania should be looked at as a prestigious accomplishment. It should be looked at as a prestigious honor. Not everybody should be on WrestleMania. Not everybody should have the opportunity to wrestle at WrestleMania. If you've done nothing all year, then you don't deserve to be on WrestleMania and the card, whether it's one night or two nights. Now, Triple H did TakeOver right. When TakeOver and NXT were in its prime, TakeOver was a very prestigious night. Happened maybe 5 times a year, and not everybody was able to get on those shows. It was saved for the utmost important matches that you've been building up on NXT television leading up to that specific TakeOver. You got your main guys on the show. Every match was damn near a title match, with the exception of a feud being blown off or a big feud coming to a boil, conclusion to a feud, etc., etc. 5 matches. That's all you needed. 5 matches, 2 hours, 2.5 hours max. That's it. And everybody used TakeOver as a foundation to build towards. That was your goal. When you know you're on a TakeOver, you know you made it in NXT. When you know you make it to WrestleMania, you know you make it in WWE. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is nothing more than catering and WWE feeling bad for them, wanting to get everybody on the show. I hate that mentality. I hate that mentality. Not everybody belongs at WrestleMania. And what exactly does the winner of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal get? Do they get anything? Do they get a title shot? Do they get a mid-card title shot? A WWE Universal title shot? What do they get? They get a fucking trophy that WWE has them parade around for the first night after WrestleMania, and then it goes away. Or in Braun Strowman's case, they break the fucking trophy. Well, that was the greatest Royal Rumble trophy. Whatever. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. That greatest Royal Rumble meant nothing either. I don't even constitute that as a real Royal Rumble, even though WWE says in their record books that's a real Royal Rumble. No, it's not. The Royal Rumble happens in January, not in Saudi Arabia. What do they get? What do they get? They get nothing. They get nothing. It's just, hey, we feel bad for you. We're going to put you on the show in this worthless battle royal just so that you got some in-ring time so you don't feel bad. Now back to catering you go. WWE should get rid of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Andre the Giant himself would probably tell Vince McMahon, get rid of it. It's worthless. What does WWE do with the Battle Royal? Nothing. What do they do with the winner? Nothing. Now, WWE has ways to fix this. They have ways to get everybody involved and give the guys that they want on WrestleMania, or the guys that they want on WrestleMania, a chance to get on WrestleMania. Why don't we just get rid of the Money in the Bank ladder match for its own pay-per-view and put it back where it originated at WrestleMania? You got 6 to 8 spots. I prefer 6. The lesser the spots, the more prestigious they are. The lesser the spots, the less of a clusterfuck the match is going to be. You could do 8 if you want to give guys even more of an opportunity to get on the show. I prefer 6, though. 6 qualifying matches. You can't come up with 6 qualifying matches and 6 guys you would want to have in that ladder match out of the list of people that they have for this Battle Royal. Not only would you give 6 deserving guys an opportunity to get on WrestleMania, compete in a ladder match for a prize, which is a WWE or Universal title shot at any given moment over the next 12 months, but, and this is the most important thing to me, you would give importance. You would give Raw and Smackdown a must-watch feel. Who's going to qualify for the Money in the Bank ladder match? And it happens every year. And you give those opportunities out every year. You have qualifying matches. Give that ladder match the importance. Give that contract the importance. Give Monday Night Raw and Smackdown a fucking important feel. That's the way I do it. And what do you do with the Money in the Bank? Get rid of it as its own pay-per-view. Give us the King of the Ring back. I went over this several times, man. Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. You got your contract for the next 12 months, whoever wins that championship match of their choosing. The King of the Ring could be a staple in the middle of the WWE Summer pay-per-view calendar, which would be a bridge to SummerSlam, which would give the winner of the King of the Ring a title shot of their choosing, whether it's Universal or WWE, getting you your SummerSlam main event, and at the same time, bringing a sense of importance to Monday night and Friday night. If you can fill the tournament with 16 guys and have qualifying matches spread out across the entire both shows for those summer months, Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, without even doing anything, have meaning. They have a sense of importance. They have a must-watch feel. Who's going to qualify for the King of the Ring? Who's going to advance to the second round, the third round? Who's in the finals? I don't get it. I don't really understand why this is so difficult. Meanwhile, I've just explained it to you the best way that I possibly can, and I don't know who's listening to me that absolutely sits there and says, this guy's an asshole. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I disagree with that. Of course you would agree with me. Now, the participants in this match for the Battle Royal: Akira Tozawa, Angel Garza, who I could see in a ladder match, Cedric, who I could see in a ladder match, Drew Gulak, who I can see in a ladder match, Eric of the Viking Raiders, remember them? Probably not. Elias, Gran Metalik, Humberto Carrillo, Jackson Riker, main event, Jey Uso. So much of a main event guys in the fucking Battle Royal that's not even on WrestleMania. Kalisto, King Corbin. King Corbin's challenging Drew McIntyre on Monday Night Raw for the opportunity to take him out so that he may get a WWE title match against Bobby Lashley. Yet he's in the Battle Royal. So please explain to me why I think Baron Corbin's going to beat Drew McIntyre on the last Raw before WrestleMania and get himself a WWE title match. He's in the Battle Royal. So with him being included here, I know he's not beating Drew McIntyre. And just that perception and portrayal of Baron Corbin, who's going to want to watch a loser on Monday night? Lince Dorado, Mace, Buddy Murphy, Mustafa Ali, who I could see in a ladder match, Ricochet, who I could see in a ladder match, Shelton Benjamin, who I could see in a ladder match, Shinsuke Nakamura, who I could see in a ladder match, Slapjack, Dominic Dijakovic, T-Bar, who I could see in a ladder match being Dominic Dijakovic, and Tucker Knight, who is getting the short end of the stick while Otis is back in a tag team while he's sitting in catering. Dave Meltzer was asked during the Wrestling Observer Radio on Friday if next week's SmackDown is basically the WrestleMania pre-show card and to get those matches out of the way. That's the case due to WWE wanting to cut down the length of WrestleMania due to it taking place over the course of 2 nights. He says, and I quote, "Yeah, because I think they don't want to go more than 3.5 hours on both shows, especially since they are starting an hour later than people expected. They're both starting at 8 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday instead of 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time." End quote. So WWE is putting these matches on SmackDown because they want to keep WrestleMania to 3.5 hours. That's great. That's great. I appreciate that. I would prefer the 7 p.m. hour to start the show instead of the 8 p.m. hour. So that means everybody's going to have to wait till about 11:30 to finish watching WrestleMania. It may be extended to 4 hours. We don't know. We could be here all night. And people like me who do this for a living have to be on here live after the show's over because that's when the maximum number of people are going to be wanting your opinion right after the show is over. So it's going to be a very long night for us podcasters in the IWC as well. I much prefer the 7 p.m. hour, but that's not the reason why WWE is doing that. It's not. They could easily have the matches happen at WrestleMania. Easily. If you give them some importance. Tag Team Championship match don't belong on WrestleMania. These guys have been feuding on my television for the last 2.5 months. You can't find a fucking spot for the Street Profits, Gable and Otis, Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio, and the Tag Team Champions, Ziggler and Rude. You can't find room for them on the WrestleMania card. You can't. On a 2-night WrestleMania, you can't find room for those 8 guys on WrestleMania. I don't give a fuck about the Battle Royal. I feel bad for some of the people in the Battle Royal. I don't feel bad for all of them. But you can't find spots for those 8 guys? So what you did was make an excuse, or Meltzer gave a fucking lame excuse. I don't know if that's actually the reason. I do think the reason is for the entrance. WrestleVotes and their explanation is the reason why these matches are happening. But WWE didn't know what to do with them. We got to have a pre-show, but we don't want to have a pre-show because we want the entrance, the first entrance, to mean something. But what you did is more harm than good. You made SmackDown look like a piece of shit because it just comes off to me like you creatively don't want to book anything because WrestleMania is WrestleMania. It's happening on Saturday night. I don't want to be bothered with writing a show that nobody gives a fuck about. So you're labeling it a WrestleMania SmackDown, but it's not really a WrestleMania anything. It's SmackDown. And at the same time, you're taking opportunities away from all of those men who wanted to wrestle, I'm sure, in front of a live audience. Now they don't have the opportunity to do that. But you're giving them false hope. Yeah, this is WrestleMania. It's just as important. No, it's not. It's SmackDown. They're inside the Thunderdome. They're not on Raymond James Stadium, so that's not WrestleMania. WWE did more harm than good. They actually disrespected most of their fucking pre-show. Most of the guys that don't have a spot, they disrespected and spit in their face. How could Vince McMahon live with it? He doesn't give a fuck about you. He doesn't give a fuck about me. He doesn't give a fuck about anybody. I feel bad for those men. Like they don't want to wrestle in front of a fucking live audience? Now they gotta wait. Most of this year, too. Who knows when WWE is gonna have fans back in attendance? SummerSlam? Maybe. What an awful fucking decision. You got 6 matches on each night. You can't give me those 8 guys on a fucking show that's a 2-night event? God, man. This company is clueless. Absolutely clueless. Yeah, that's great. They want to keep it to 3.5 hours. That's what it should be. That's what it should be. But that's not the reason. The reason is more in line with WrestleVotes. They want that entrance to be the big deal. So why not save them for night 2 of WrestleMania? If you're starting at 8, there's no reason why the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and the tag team title match can't go on night 2 at 7 o'clock. And you do those 2 matches from 7 to 8. I don't get it. At least then they'll be in front of live people and not on SmackDown. But it goes back to what I said. WWE's putting those matches on SmackDown because they don't want to be bothered by booking a go-home show for WrestleMania. They want to take the easy way out. Hey, we'll book this as a WrestleMania SmackDown. No, it's not. You just don't give a fuck about writing a decent go-home show. They should be embarrassed. They should legitimately be ashamed of themselves. Bobby Lashley, an MVP. The Hurt Business is no more. Bobby Lashley and MVP met with Vince McMahon because they disagreed with Vince McMahon breaking up the Hurt Business. Bobby Lashley's career has changed for the better. Being under the watch and having MVP by his side. Okay? Bobby Lashley was so terrible on WWE television that he was legitimately channel-changing garbage. This guy was doing nothing. He looked ridiculous. He felt ridiculous. He did not feel like a big deal. I really do agree with a lot of people saying that Bobby Lashley looks impressive, but he's been booked creatively terrible. And I do agree with that. But he's not that good in the ring to begin with. Or at least he wasn't then. Everything about him portrayed just came off as jobber. Bobby Lashley looked like a mid-card jobber on Monday Night Raw. This was before the pandemic. And WWE had an empty arena show all through the pandemic on Monday and Friday night, and this is where the Hurt Business was born. Bobby Lashley changed his appearance a little bit. He got MVP as a mouthpiece. And that's exactly what he needed because he's not a great promo guy. And MVP was with Bobby Lashley. They're great friends in real life. And that charisma and that relationship kind of shined through our television. And Bobby Lashley needed this type of direction because you got a legit main event guy being buried by terrible creative, and WWE was doing nothing about it. Then you add Cedric, and you go through these months worth of storyline with Cedric teasing or possibly Ricochet joining, and Ricochet was feuding with the Hurt Business, and Apollo Crews was feuding with the Hurt Business. Nobody knew who it was going to be. Cedric, Apollo, Ricochet, could have been a number of any one of those guys. Could have been all 3. But WWE ended up doing Cedric and then Shelton Benjamin. Then you had Cedric, Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley and MVP, and they came out looking like a mafia-like stable, coming out dressed in suits every week. They were looking the part. They were speaking the part. Bobby Lashley finally got a mouthpiece worth something. Somebody that's not named Paul Heyman. Very difficult to find somebody that was going to fit with Bobby Lashley. MVP fit just as good as Paul Heyman would fit. And still, that is a fact to this day. Cedric, he was buried on WWE television. Made to look like a fucking loser on WWE television. WWE was specifically told by Vince to bury Cedric Alexander per reports from Dave Meltzer. For whatever he did, I don't know what he did, but he's too talented to sit in the back. He was finally given an opportunity that a lot of people, a lot of the fans wanted to see him get. Shelton, we all know how good he is, man. The guy re-signed with the company. He did nothing during his first stint back, sat in catering, and then he signed the new deal to sit in catering, and he was finally being used again. Too good. Even at his age, he's 45 years old, still good at what he does. Great, in fact. WWE had their best faction. And I know I'm not the only one that says that. Everybody agreed. Hurt Business was the best faction on Monday Night Raw. They may have been the best faction on the main roster. In a day and age where we see too many factions in AEW, which I think is hindering their programming, the more factions, the less impact that faction has. Everybody's in a fucking faction. You got the Hurt Business being the only legitimate faction on the main roster outside of the New Day, and I don't even consider them a faction. Because they're not really the New Day anymore, because Big E's on Smackdown and Xavier and Kofi are on Monday Night Raw. They're more of a tag team than a faction. We had this faction on Monday night, and they brought a level of importance to the show. They were easily the best segment on Monday night, week in and week out. You made Bobby Lashley and transformed him into a killer. You gave Cedric and Shelton an opportunity. MVP, you took him out of that in-ring role to give him a managerial role, and that's where he shined, on the microphone. I mean, I don't understand what the reason is as to why you would break something like that up. There's so many positives there and barely any negatives. The only negatives that existed were WWE consistently gave us rematches week in and week out, so their growth was kind of stifled because they were feuding with Apollo for God knows how long and Ricochet for God knows how long, and they had no new, fresh opponents. WWE is just completely incapable of writing a faction storyline and giving that faction a meaning on these shows, which is always their goddamn problem. So then we get to WrestleMania season this year. WWE, I'm sure, found out early on that Brock Lesnar wasn't going to be at WrestleMania. He refused to work WrestleMania for whatever reason, whether it's travel restrictions. Maybe he didn't want to do it. Maybe he wasn't happy with the pay WWE was ready to give him at this time. Maybe they told him to call back sometime in the summer. Maybe we'll revisit this during SummerSlam and we'll pay you what you want. I don't know. But WWE found out early on that Brock Lesnar wasn't going to be at WrestleMania. And Bobby Lashley just grew stronger and stronger. And you've seen it. You felt it. And that booking of Bobby Lashley made the Hurt Business even better because now they had legit muscle and that big, towering figure to lead that group. And you knew that Bobby Lashley was being groomed for something, whether it was a match with Brock Lesnar and we all were just going to be surprised with his return, or they were going to do something. And they did do something. They led him to a WWE Championship with Drew McIntyre. They led him to a WWE Championship feud with Drew McIntyre. And why did they choose Bobby Lashley? The way that they went about it sucked. He beat The Miz. Miz should have never been WWE Champion. I think WWE fucked up on that. But WWE took Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley and made that the main event because Bobby Lashley was the only dominating figure on Monday Night Raw that was creatively booked the right way and could bring a sense of legitimacy to a match with Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre has beaten Bobby Lashley before, but he's never beaten this Bobby Lashley. He's never beaten this Bobby Lashley. Drew McIntyre's beaten everybody. And if you're going to build somebody up that is very similar to Brock Lesnar to get that same effect that you missed out on last year, Bobby Lashley was the right guy. So here we are. Now, I don't really agree with WWE doing what they're doing, and I'll get to that in a second. I do think Bobby Lashley is now looking weaker because the Hurt Business is broken up. I think Bobby Lashley looks weaker, asking for help, asking the locker room for help, having Corbin accept and Bobby Lashley be okay with it to take out Drew McIntyre. That doesn't make Bobby Lashley look like a dominating killer as a WWE champion like he was booked only a month ago. Now he looks weaker 4 weeks later. I don't understand why. But Bobby Lashley and MVP, they were upset that the Hurt Business is broken up, and it's not difficult to see why. Now, sources say that this week, Batista joined in on the discussion about the Hurt Business and questioned WWE's decision to split the Hurt Business up on Monday Night Raw. It happened this past Monday on Raw when Bobby Lashley made it clear that he didn't think Cedric and Shelton were getting the job done. So he kicked them out of the group and a brawl broke out. Bobby Lashley wrestled Shelton Benjamin, and this week he's wrestling Cedric Alexander on Monday night to finish the job. Now, it should be noted that MVP has claimed that he and Lashley are still the Hurt Business. MVP also claimed that Baron Corbin is not in the Hurt Business. Fightful Select reports members of the group joined those who were shocked and unhappy about this split. Per the report, Vince McMahon made the decision himself to split the Hurt Business up, and this decision was much to the chagrin of those in the group. The group did not want the Hurt Business to split. Vince McMahon made the decision himself to split up the group. No reason was given. Based on several wrestlers that we spoke to here at Fightful, the decision and McMahon's insistence to continue down that road was a blow to morale. End quote. It was added that McMahon was set in his choice to fracture the group, even after MVP and Bobby Lashley were vocal about not being in support of the move. They had a meeting with WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon about the idea, but Vince McMahon later dug his heels in even more and stood firmly behind his decision. No reason, again, was given. No reason except Vince McMahon wanted it to end, so we saw that it died. It is clear that there is unhappiness in WWE amongst the fans and about the decision to break up the Hurt Business by people in the locker room and legitimately in the Hurt Business itself. Early this week, like I said, Batista expressed dissatisfaction with the decision, and others in WWE have privately echoed his sentiments. Batista took to Twitter to let his feelings known about this decision, and he says, and I quote, "Let's try this again. Who in their right mind would break up the Hurt Business already? Answer, no one. Hashtag shaking my fucking head. Hashtag bad for business." Now, Bobby Lashley, MVP, spoke with Vince McMahon about not breaking up the group. He didn't want to hear it. So publicly, Cedric and Shelton echoed their displeasure as well. Cedric says this on Twitter. He says, and I quote, "It's 2019 all over again." Now, you may be thinking that is a work. You may be thinking that's a work. But folks, that's a shoot. It may come off as a work, and people may be thinking that he's just playing up to the fact that he's upset at MVP and Bobby Lashley kicking them out on television. But that is a legit shoot. That is a legit shoot. Shelton Benjamin says this on Twitter. "The events of this past week have been beyond infuriating, frustrating, and disappointing, but sadly, this comes as no surprise." End quote. Another shoot by a Hurt Business member. Folks, was there a legit reason to break up the Hurt Business? No. No. WWE was just bored. WWE was just bored, and they figured there's nothing else to fucking bury on this show because we've legitimately buried everybody else. So let's break up and let's bury the one thing that everybody is so fond over. Or so fond of, the Hurt Business. Vince McMahon hates you. Vince McMahon hates you. Vince McMahon hates me. Vince McMahon hates the WWE fans. And after the Hurt Business broke up, that is even more apparent after Monday Night Raw. WWE broke up the best faction on the main roster, the only faction really on the main roster. And you mean to tell me that you couldn't find any creative plans for them following WrestleMania? You couldn't move them to Smackdown? You couldn't give them new life after they've done everything on Monday Night Raw? You couldn't find anything to do with them. You got this brand-to-brand invitational. They could have easily showed up on SmackDown to do something. You got Baron Corbin coming over to Monday Night Raw from SmackDown. Now, one thing about the brand-to-brand invitational was mentioned. All I know and all I remember reading is that management is very fond of Baron Corbin. Management is not that fond of Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. So they gave a spot to Baron Corbin, who they love, and took out the guys that they don't really care for. Vince McMahon hates you. Vince McMahon hates me. And Vince McMahon hates the fans of the WWE. You know, we all sit here blind to the fact that WWE doesn't listen to their audience. They listen. They don't listen in the way that we want them to listen, but they know, they listen, they see everything that's going on. They know exactly what we like, and they will always do the opposite to piss us off, because that's what they love. That is what they want to do. That is what they live for. They got somebody scouring social media to find out what exactly people like about this show, which is very few and far between, and they look to actively kill it every single chance they get. They might not be able to do it immediately, but when the time comes, they will undoubtedly do it. Undoubtedly. Case in point, the Hurt Business. They couldn't break the Hurt Business up because they were legitimately carrying this brand all year last year. So when they started getting back to normal and Bobby Lashley got the WWE title, that's when they decided to break them up. Makes me wonder if they really give a shit about Bobby Lashley either. Seems like they're just using Bobby Lashley to further the Drew McIntyre agenda. Because Bobby Lashley, the way he's been built up, is just as good as Brock Lesnar. Can't have Lesnar. Why don't we use Lashley? So it looks like, to me, they're using Drew McIntyre in this Bobby Lashley thing to get the title back on Drew, and Bobby Lashley's going to go right back to where he was before the Hurt Business was even a thought. So do they really care about Bobby Lashley? Yeah, they repaid him for all his years of service. 17 years he's been in the WWE or as a pro wrestler, whatever. 17-year journey, 17-year career as a pro wrestler, and now he's finally got the WWE title. He sits atop the mountain. They gave it to him out of pity. They gave it to him to be a transitional champion. They gave it to him to further their McIntyre agenda because McIntyre didn't get his day last year. Bobby Lashley is seen as an innocent casualty here. They had no choice, and he was the best choice at the moment that they were thinking about their main event for WrestleMania. But Bobby Lashley, to me, seems like he's being punished. It may be a reward to the geeks out there, but it looks like Bobby Lashley is just being used and punished. He really is. The Hurt Business, there was no reason for them to break up. None. Now, what do? Lashley, after the WWE title loss at WrestleMania, which I expect is coming, he's never going to see that title again. He may get another rematch against Drew McIntyre, but he's not getting that title back. Cedric, what do you do with Cedric? Buried. Right back to catering goes Cedric. Shelton, right back to catering. So you killed two guys, definitely, because they're not going to be used in any priority role on Monday Night Raw. You're not going to use these guys on Monday night. So where are they going to be? You actively killed a group with 3 active members to use maybe one of them and bury the other 2 behind the scenes and not use them on television. How is that good business? How is that good business? Bobby Lashley may be booked up as a killer and a solid guy, solid mid-card act, but he's never going to be a WWE champion again. So for everybody that claimed, oh my God, finally, Bobby Lashley should hold the title till SummerSlam. He should hold it for the rest of the year. He's barely going to hold it a month and a half. Because WWE doesn't want Bobby Lashley as the WWE champion. He's just the guy that was there at the right place at the right time. WWE hates you. They hate you. They hate everything that you want to see. They hate everything that you want as far as Monday Night Raw and SmackDown is concerned. Just look no further than Monday night. There's multiple offenses on their show. Bobby Lashley in the Hurt Business is one of them. Look at the women's division on Monday. Look at Asuka. Asuka hasn't defended that title on pay-per-view for 8 months. 8 months. Asuka doesn't even have a WrestleMania opponent up until last week when Rhea Ripley came out of nowhere and undeservedly looked at a fucking logo, pointed and said, I want you at WrestleMania. Match is made. That's what you want for Asuka? WWE knows everybody loves Asuka. WWE knows that everybody wants Asuka to have a real title reign and real opponents. They don't do anything to give Asuka any opponents. They don't put any effort into building and writing for Asuka, and they don't give a fuck about Asuka because you love Asuka. What about Ricochet? Ricochet's been buried on this show for countless months. Everybody loves Ricochet. Everybody looked at Ricochet in NXT and looked at him as the next future piece of the WWE. What happened? Buried. Same thing with Aleister Black. Buried. Guys that have big fanfare, guys that have big followings coming from the indies to the WWE. WWE thrives on that. They look at it and they look to kill it. Instead of building it up and making those guys the next big thing on their shows, they kill it because you love it. Because you love them. What do you think is going to happen to Adam Cole? Adam Cole is an indie fucking darling. He's an NXT darling. Triple H loves him. Shawn Michaels loves him. William Regal loves him. Matt Bloom loves him. Everybody loves him. Fans love him. Buried. Buried. And there's countless other situations on Monday night. AJ Styles. You take AJ Styles into WrestleMania. You don't have a fucking plan for him outside of Omos and him teaming for the tag team titles? How many people are calling for AJ Styles to be in a higher position on Monday Night Raw? You don't think WWE hears that? You don't think WWE sees that? Of course they do. So they actively keep him down. And who knows? WWE knows that he's good friends, best friends with Gallows and Anderson. They left. They're on AEW television now. They're probably taking that out on AJ. And countless other offenses that WWE has done on Monday night. U.S. top Matt Riddle, another guy. What are they doing with Matt Riddle? Everybody loves Matt Riddle. Or they used to love Matt Riddle. Guy's a fucking comedy clown on Monday night. Keith Lee, don't get me started. Don't get me started. This show sucks. The show is awful. WWE hates you. WWE hates me. WWE hates its fan base. And the Hurt Business breaking up for absolutely no reason. Not only goes to show you that creative can't do their fucking jobs correctly, but WWE breaking up the Hurt Business shows you that Vince McMahon will forever hate you and me until the day that he dies or the day he kills WWE, whichever comes first. No reason why the Hurt Business should be broken up on Monday Night Raw a year after they started when they didn't even have a chance to get the wheels in motion. As you guys are surely aware, today's podcast is brought to you by The Ridge, ridge.com/script10. And you guys are going to use code SCRIPT10 at checkout to save yourself 10% off, man. Look at my new Damascus Ridge wallet in all its glory. Yes, that's my actual keyboard. Yes, that's my actual setup. This is what I stare at every single week. I'm recording this fine show for you guys on YouTube. The Ridge wallet, it's light, it's sleek, it's industrial. It doesn't fold or awkwardly bulge in your back pocket. And it seriously changed my entire outlook on wallets. Most people are still using wallets designed in the 90s. I don't really understand it. Carrying around old receipts, gift cards, hotel room keys. What an unorganized mess, man. I really don't get it. Why have we moved on from large flip phones to smartphones, but we still carry around the same wallet? Now, the Ridge holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash. I got the cash strap. I know the money clip is good too, but I like the cash strap. There's over 30 colors and styles. Burnt titanium, carbon fiber, Damascus. Get them all. Get them all. I really love it, but don't take my word for it. Listen to their 30,000 5-star reviews, one of them being mine. The durable material means each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. You could buy one wallet and own it for the rest of your life. And the Ridge is so confident in the wallet itself, they'll let you test drive it for 45 days. If you don't like it, which I don't know why you won't, they'll send you a full refund. Guys, the other big thing about the wallet that I love is that it has RFID blocking technology. So all your card information and your ID information will be safe from potential digital pickpocketers, man. Ridge.com/script10. You guys are going to use code script10 at checkout to save yourself 10% off and get free worldwide shipping. And I want to thank them for once again supporting the podcast during WrestleMania season on Off the Script. I think everybody is very interested to know where Andrade Cien Almas ends up next and where he will continue his pro wrestling career. Now, we all have our choices. Some people want him to go back to Japan. Some people would rather him go to Mexico. Some people would wish he would go right to Jacksonville. I think he would fit great in AEW. But he's obviously going to choose a place and a destination that works best for him and is going to give him the creative freedom that he sorely wants and desires. Now, he posted something online this past week on Twitter. And as you guys see there, that is what he posted. Him signing what looks to be a blank sheet of paper. Now, I don't know what he's doing there. It might just be a picture to give off the portrayal that new beginnings are happening. Maybe the actual contract is under that blank sheet of paper. But the one thing that I notice is, man, he's got good taste in watches. He's wearing a Oyster Perpetual Rolex two-tone with a Jubilee band. He's got good taste in watches, does that Andrade. Anyway, obviously he's going to join somewhere in a promotion that fits him best. And he was actually interviewed by Lucha Libre Online, and he went over a ton of backstage detail as it pertains to Charlotte Flair, Angel Garza being promised a push if he shaved his hair, how much he was making per his WWE contract per year, what Drew McIntyre told him and refused to do for him, amongst other things. So we're going to break down this shoot interview given by Lucha Libre Online and Andrade Cien Almas. So Andrade shoots on WWE after leaving WWE. He told the company that he did not want to work Saudi Arabia during the last Saudi Arabian event. WWE talent were stuck in Saudi Arabia following the show in 2019 after a reported mechanical issue with one of their aircrafts. During the interview, Andrade opened up about his experience. He says this, and I quote, "I think it was like 2 days. They didn't let us leave. We went into the plane, boarded, told us there was something wrong with the plane. They made up a million stories. They told us a lot of different things. I think we went up to the plane 2 times. We were already eating. Some were sleeping, and then they made us get off the plane. Cain Velasquez was there. Rey Mysterio was there too. Guys with names. There were guys with their own planes. Some had to stay behind. They brought in a plane to try and bring the Smackdown guys because there was a taping. They made up a lot of things. They treated us like kings at first, but once we were done, we were stuck in this small airport. You could see some guys on the floor falling asleep after waiting all day at the airport. I don't know what the real story is, but they did not let us leave the country." End quote. Andrade also opened up about telling people within WWE that he did not want to return to Saudi Arabia for any more shows despite making good money by being on the actual cards. He says, and I quote, "The following week, we had a meeting with Vince. I spoke with those in the office and I said I didn't want to return to Saudi Arabia. The money is good, but I don't want to go to Saudi Arabia. They told us to talk to Vince, that it wasn't that much of an issue and that it wasn't happening again. Speak with whoever you want to, but I wasn't going back to Saudi Arabia. You can't imagine seeing those superstars on the floor like that, sharing protein bars because there wasn't enough to eat. We spent 2 days there and we're not allowed to go. I don't know what really happened. The day there was a meeting, I didn't go because I knew they would make something up. I remember that time vividly because my mom passed away while I was in Saudi Arabia." End quote. Despite what happened at Crown Jewel in 2019, Andrade was back in Saudi Arabia for the Super Showdown show in February 2020. And due to COVID-19, this is the last time that WWE has performed inside that country. You know, I don't blame him. I don't blame him for that. But, you know, WWE is the type of company that will tell you something is okay and then behind your back bury you softly. So you got to choose what you do wisely. And this is definitely something that Andrade went ahead and did because he felt it was right. He didn't want to be there. He was going through the death of his mother while he was over there. He's seen all his cohorts and his colleagues struggling to fall asleep, eating protein bars. It was a rough time. It was a rough time. And it's scary being stuck in a country that is that way in Saudi Arabia, and you are a foreigner in their land. Who knows what happens? Who knows what could happen? You know? Now, I heard some stories from very reputable people about what actually happened there. I do agree that some of it was overblown. I do agree that some of the stories that these guys were telling are legit truth. Not everybody went through the same thing. Some guys took it a lot easier than others, and some people were taking it a lot more difficult. And I do agree with a guy like Andrade that doesn't want to go there because WWE was never going to use him in a main priority role anyway. So you're having them fly 17, 18 hours to Saudi Arabia, fly right back on the first flight that you could get back to the United States and go do a Smackdown taping or a Raw taping and be okay with it. It's a very arduous trek for those talents to make. And if Andrade doesn't want to go, just based off that, the fact that he's not being used, he's got all the reason in the fucking world to complain. Why are you sending me there if you're not using me? The money's good, but I don't care. I don't care. I would rather not go through all of that, sit around when I don't have to be there, when I could be at home here. I'll be waiting for you when you guys get back. I'll be ready to work as soon as you walk through the door. Then they go through that. And they go through that situation, who the fuck wants to go back? So I don't blame him whatsoever, but it is a situation where WWE says, yeah, go talk to Vince. It should be okay. It should be all right. And they'll tell you that, and then they'll bury you softly, and they'll use that against you. Oh, he doesn't want to go. He's not a team player. Bury him. It's exactly what they did to him. So that's one offense on Andrade's list of offenses in WWE's management circle. Oh, he's not a team player. Kind of buried himself by not wanting to go. Andrade accused WWE star, who is anonymous, of taking a photo of Charlotte Flair while changing. And he cites jealousy towards her. One of the most shocking revelations to come out of Andrade's shoot interview with Lucha Libre Online is the heat that Charlotte Flair supposedly has with other members of the WWE roster. Gee, I wonder why. Do you know? I know. I've been preaching about it for the last 5 years now. During the interview, Andrade said that some people in WWE are jealous of Charlotte Flair. Are they? Or are they just upset that Charlotte Flair gets preferential treatment over everybody else on the roster first and foremost every single time that there's an opportunity to be had? And accused an unnamed member of the roster of taking a photo of his fiancée while she was changing backstage at a show, which is downright fucking creepy. It's nasty. Andrade revealed that he and Charlotte Flair know who took the photo of her, but Charlotte doesn't want to say anything about it. Andrade noted that WWE doesn't even know the incident took place. Well, now they do. Now they do. He says, and I quote, I have a lot of information. I don't want to cause trouble for her. I can say that I don't know exactly that it was because of me that they removed her, but there is a lot of jealousy towards her. There are a lot of female wrestlers in WWE, but only 3 or 4 can wrestle for 20 minutes. A lot of them complain about her getting the opportunities. She's had problems backstage. One time, someone took a photo of her while she was changing. We know who, but she didn't want to say anything, and WWE didn't know about it. End quote. Andrade would go on to explain that people in WWE just see Charlotte Flair as Ric Flair's daughter. I mean, It's not that difficult to make that perception about her, folks. I mean, just open your eyes and watch the show. Please. This is not new information. But people turn a blind eye to this shit because Charlotte Flair is the greatest of all time. No, she's not. No, she's not. Not even close. Give me a fucking break with your goddamn pandering and your fucking circle jerking. Andrade noted that people within WWE have complained that Charlotte Flair works stiff out of jealousy. Does she? Does she work stiff out of jealousy? She's angry that other people look at her and are jealous of her. That's why she works stiff? Give me a break. They have a lot of jealousy towards her, Andrade said. They look at her as just the daughter of Ric Flair. I know she's a good wrestler, and she's earned her spot in WWE. There is a lot of jealousy. After matches, a lot of people say she works stiff. I don't give a fuck if she works stiff or not. She doesn't deserve half, more than half of the opportunities she's been given. She's not even in the realm of being number 3 or 2, wherever she fits on the fucking list. Number 2. Behind Trish Stratus as the 50 greatest women in WWE history. Are you serious? Are you serious? Just open your eyes, folks, and watch the show. She's been given all that she has because she's the golden goose. She's Ric Flair's daughter. She's not even as good as people claim she is. I would take Sasha. I would take Bayley. I would take Becky well above Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair is the worst of the 4 horsewomen. Yet she's gotten more than all 3 of them combined. I know the stories. Was Charlotte Flair needed in the WrestleMania main event with Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey? Fuck no. She lobbied to be in that main event because, God forbid, we have a main event, a first ever women's main event without Charlotte Flair. Did she need to win the Royal Rumble? Fuck no. She didn't want to get eliminated by an NXT superstar, whether that was Bianca Belair or Shayna Baszler. It doesn't matter. It could have been fucking anybody from NXT. She didn't want to get eliminated by an NXT talent because it would make her look inferior. Then she challenged Rhea Ripley. Did she need to beat Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Championship? What exactly did she do for the NXT Women's Championship? Nothing. The division absolutely was at a bottom of the barrel level when she was there. Everybody she was in the ring with, nobody came out looking better on the other side. And when she lost the title, she didn't even take the pinfall. It was goddamn Rhea Ripley who took the fucking pinfall. So please explain to me what Charlotte Flair did for the NXT Women's Division and the NXT Women's title. Nothing. All she did was pad her own statistics and do something that WWE could have easily found somebody else to do that same thing. Give me a break. Jealousy? No, they're not jealous. They're fucking offended, and they're upset that everybody else is waiting for an opportunity, and WWE always gives it to Charlotte. He may be right, though. There's probably 3 or 4 that can wrestle for actually 20 minutes or more. That women's division is fucking god-awful. And the only ones that he's probably talking about are Becky, Bayley, Sasha, Ruby Riott, right? Who else? Asuka? That's it. Anybody else going 20 minutes? Give me a break. I barely want to see them for 2 minutes, never mind 20. Andrade explains that WWE told Angel Garza to cut his hair in preparation for a push. Did that push come? Of course not. Of course not. Angel Garza was never really pushed after his haircut. But this is a summary of what Andrade had to say during the interview with Lucha Libre Online. He says, and I quote, said that wrestlers have been great to him, and there's a lot of talent in the company, but a lot of talent complain and don't speak up or asked to be let go. He praised guys like Ricochet, Aleister Black, and Angel Garza as talented guys who don't get much from creative. He noted that WWE told Garza to cut his hair because they were going to push him, and he was happy that there were plans to push him. Andrade goes on to say that WWE hasn't done much with Humberto and Garza, and they both have a lot of charisma, with some people making comparisons with Garza to Eddie Guerrero. Imagine cutting your hair when you might not have wanted to cut your hair. WWE promises to push you. You cut your hair, and you don't get what WWE promised you. Where is Angel Garza and why isn't Angel Garza on the show? If there's comparisons being made to Eddie Guerrero, when exactly is Vince McMahon going to get a whiff of those comparisons? We've seen it in NXT. Why hasn't Bruce and why hasn't Vince seen it on the main roster? Guy's been there for fucking 2 years now. Give me a fucking break with this shit, man. Just come out and say that you are discriminatory against talents like Angel Garza. It's plain to anybody watching the goddamn show. Andrade says he was making $3 million per year under his WWE contract. He says, and I quote, I've been with WWE. I've had great contracts with WWE. $3 million per year. Several $1 million per year. A lot more than plenty of guys coming up from NXT. I heard about those contracts. I made a lot more than those guys. End quote. Now, for context, Matt Riddle signed a new WWE contract, and it was believed to be $400,000 per year, which is significantly less than the supposed $3 million per year that Andrade was getting from WWE. Now, it could be true because when Andrade signed, WWE was making hand over fist more money than they've ever had before. And they were willingly just throwing money at talent so they wouldn't go anywhere. It was that phase where they would sign anybody that had pro wrestler on their resume and was a breathing human being. So was he making $3 million? I could say I believe him. But then again, I'm looking at Andrade and I'm looking at him say he's making $3 million a year. And then I'm looking at WWE's business practice. Why would you actively employ somebody that you're paying $3 million a year and then not use them? Was WWE just legitimately throwing $3 million away for a guy that has all the potential in the world to maybe be the best pro wrestler on the planet and they're not using him? Is he fibbing? Is he just pulling everybody's leg? Now, WWE went through a pandemic. They fired a bunch of people during the pandemic. They're making even more money now, but they're still in the middle of a pandemic. They're not touring. There's no live shows. And Matt Riddle gets $400,000 per year. So what makes Andrade worth $3 million and Matt Riddle only worth $400,000? That's what I'm trying to really figure out here. It doesn't really add up. Doesn't make sense. He's making $3 million per year. That was before they let him go and he just walked away from it. I don't want it anymore. Let me go. Keep your fucking money. Drew McIntyre refused to bury Andrade in a match that they had during the pandemic in an empty WWE Performance Center on Monday Night Raw. This was during also his Lucha Libre Online shoot interview. Andrade revealed during the interview that a WWE producer told Drew McIntyre to go over strong in a match against him. But Drew told Andrade to just wrestle like he normally does. He says, and I quote, when the pandemic started, they put me with Drew McIntyre. Drew was great with me and behaved well with me in NXT and on the main roster. We had the matches, and a producer came to me and said, make sure Drew looks like a monster because he's the champ. Drew McIntyre then came up to me and told me how I know how to wrestle, saying that he doesn't need me to make him look good. So wrestle how you wrestle the best you can. And he told Andrade, you don't need to make me look good. Just go in there and do what you normally do, which is great by itself. Andrade revealed that people within WWE treated him well, citing Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton as examples of members of the roster who had his back and supported him during his time with WWE. He says, and I quote, a lot of people treated me well. Drew too. And Randy Orton. Randy would ask me, why aren't they using you? I didn't know what to say and didn't know what was going on. During the interview, Andrade revealed it was this incident with the unnamed WWE producer and Drew McIntyre that decided he wanted to leave the company for good. Again, I don't blame him. Those were the most important things to take away during his interview. Clearly, WWE misused this guy. This guy wasted the prime years of his career in a company that did not appreciate him. He made his money, and God bless him. God bless him. But at the end of the day, everybody wants just more than money. They want to be the best at their profession. And if you don't want to be the best at what you do, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Money will only take you so far. Seriously. This should be a lesson learned to everybody ready and willing to just jump to WWE. Don't do it. Make a name for yourself and get yourself to a point where you're proud of yourself inside and out before you take their dirty money. Because when you do, they're not going to appreciate what you did for you to get to where you are. Friday Night Smackdown, overall ratings, back over 2 million for the post-Fastlane show. This episode drew an average of 2.030 million viewers, which was up from the week prior, which did 1.945 million viewers on Fox. The first hour saw the show pull in a 2.020, and hour 2 did a 2.041. It also pulled in an average of 0.5 in the ratings, 18 to 49, which was number 2 for the night. This is the same 0.50 rating in the 18 to 49 demo the show did last week. SmackDown was in the middle of the pack amongst network TV in viewership. Should be noted that SmackDown is just as bad as Monday Night Raw. If Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, and Edge weren't on the show, this show would be as bad, if not worse, than Monday Night Raw. I'm not going to go over the fucking show because both of these shows were god-awful. I'm not going over any of the results for any of these shows this week. I'm so disgusted with pro wrestling and the lack of effort by all companies involved. I really am. I seriously am. I'm getting to a point where it's breaking me. SmackDown sucked. Raw sucked. AEW wasn't really my cup of tea. Too many fucking factions on that goddamn show. And I haven't even watched NXT yet because I don't have Peacock yet. Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy's current backstage frustration with WWE explained. This is a doozy, folks. Get ready for this one. Ringside News ran an exclusive about Aaliyah Mysterio and her current status with the company. In that report, Ringside News noted that Murphy's current outward frustrations about WWE are legit. No shit. Several of our readers, says Ringside News, asked us to elaborate on Murphy's status. The frustration from Murphy has been coming for a long time. He was 205 Live's best-kept secret before his main roster call-up. The former NXT and Raw Tag Team Champion had momentum and was excelling with his in-ring work. Paul Heyman was a big fan of Buddy Murphy's, but then he lost that advocate backstage when Heyman was fired from his position as executive director of Monday Night Raw, where Bruce Pritchard took over. Murphy had a great spotlight with him and Aaliyah during their storyline that was dropped in December and never mentioned again. Murphy has appeared on SmackDown on a couple of occasions with Seth Rollins here and there, but no mention of Aaliyah was ever made. She was just taken off of television with no explanation. Murphy was looking to gain Seth Rollins' favor once again, but he was ultimately used as a jobber in this storyline with Rollins and Cesaro. So we asked about Murphy, says Ringside News, about Murphy's post where he fired shots at each member of the Mysterio family. He deleted that post, but we were told here at Ringside News that Murphy is desperate to get noticed at this point. Frustration is building, and we have not heard any update on his current contract status. A tenured member of the creative writing team confirmed to us that Aaliyah Mysterio still doesn't know if she's finished with WWE or if she's going to be brought back and used. The book is not closed on her participation in WWE storylines, but they have obviously taken a step back from this idea. As Ringside News exclusively reported in October 2020, Mysterio was not under contract with WWE. She was on an on-per appearance deal. Murphy is also not booked for WrestleMania, despite challenging Aleister Black, who also vanished from WWE television. So, I'll get to that in a second. Buddy Murphy is so frustrated with WWE and the fact that they took him off of television in the middle of a goddamn storyline. Rollins went out. Rollins went away because his fiance was giving birth to their child. So he went home, obviously came back at the Royal Rumble. WWE had Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins battle the Mysterios for well over a year. They played this romance angle up with Buddy Murphy and Aaliyah Mysterio, only to drop it once Seth Rollins was forced to go home to be with his wife. What does that tell you about WWE and how they feel about Buddy Murphy? Buddy Murphy was never and will never be taken as a priority in World Wrestling Entertainment. He was just there. He was lucky that he was with Rollins. Otherwise, he would have been booked in the same way he's been booked now all last year. They just dropped the angle. They had Mysterio, Rey Mysterio, Aaliyah Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio, after all that Rollins has done to them. The eyeballs and the attacks and this and that, the betrayal, the manipulation, stealing the fucking daughter from Rey Mysterio. All that they did. They then put Murphy with Aaliyah, and then they dropped it once Rollins was off television. No explanation as to where anybody went, where the storyline went, where the characters are going next, why they were just removed from television, why Mysterio and Dominic are now doing something else without Buddy Murphy, why he's not in the family anymore. Nothing. Nothing. So this guy takes it upon himself to go on Instagram and fill in the gaps that WWE clearly left to explain what happened. And then they tell him to take that Instagram post down. Why? Because Buddy Murphy means nothing to WWE Creative. Why? Because Buddy Murphy is trying to do their job that they refuse to do, and he made them look like a bunch of blithering idiots. I feel bad for this fuck. Now he's on social media challenging Aleister Black for a match at WrestleMania because they both know they deserve a spot, an opportunity at least, and they know that if they're put on the show, they would kill it because they've done so a handful of times. Buddy Murphy is as good as dead in WWE. I don't know why. The guy's got unbelievable talent. One of the best wrestlers they got. Guy like Buddy Murphy, Aleister Black, Ricochet, Ali, Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, all being booked into oblivion, some worse than others. Andrade, Garza. I mean, look at these names. Look at the names that they're wasting on the main roster. Any company would be fucking crawling on their hands and knees to get any one of these guys to work for them. A guy like Ricochet, a guy like Black, a guy like Keith Lee could maybe go top 3, top 5 in any given wrestling draft. And you have them all employed. And what are they doing? Nothing. It's fucking sad. It's absolutely disgusting. The level of talent that WWE is wasting. Speaking of Aleister Black, sends out a cryptic message on social media. I don't know why. Same thing like Buddy Murphy, man. He's looking for a hand to reach through and grab him and pull him out of this fucking desolate fucking blackness that is WWE. Aleister Black took to Instagram to send out a cryptic message by writing, "Let us sit face to face soon. I will have many stories to tell, all of them in full color." Who knows what that means? I pray to God that this guy is following the Andrade path and asks for his release. That's the money that Tony Khan should be fucking saving. Guys like that become a free agent. That's where your money should be going. Let's sit face to face soon. All of my stories will be told in full color. Good. What does that mean? It could mean anything. It could mean he's on his way out. It could mean he's got a contract coming up. Could mean that he asked for his release. Could mean that he's back to WWE television. They got some sort of plan for him. Even then, are you going to trust them? They had this guy in their grasp for 3 years now. What have they done? Nothing. I don't trust them at all with a guy like Aleister Black. Dynamite. Dynamite's viewership was disappointing, to say the least, with the Arcade Anarchy match. And then NXT had their go-home show for TakeOver Stand and Deliver. AEW won. They won the demo, as usual. But man, a disappointing rating for both shows. Dynamite did 700,000 viewers. This is down from 757,000 viewers the previous week. And they did a 0.26 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. And that is actually down as well from last week's Wednesday show of 0.30. This episode featured Christian's in-ring debut with the promotion behind it against Frankie Kazarian. It opened the show. And then they headlined Wednesday's Dynamite with an Arcade Anarchy match, which saw Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy defeat Miro and Kip Sabian with the return of Miss Chris Statlander. On the flip side, NXT, which I did not watch it because I don't really have Peacock yet, and my WWE Network subscription actually ran out. So I got to go and watch it because I heard there were some incredible video packages. WWE NXT did 654,000 live viewers, down from last week's 678,000 live viewers, while they did a 0.21 rating in the 18 to 49 demo. That is actually up from last Wednesday's show of 0.14. NXT featured the final build for next week's TakeOver special and was headlined by a Gauntlet Eliminator match. And these Gauntlet Eliminators will go on to night one of TakeOver Stand and Deliver on the USA Network. And the winner of that Gauntlet match will challenge Johnny Gargano for the North American Championship on night 2. AEW ranked number 7 in the top 150 shows on cable for Wednesday night, while NXT was number 12. AEW, like I said, had a 0.26 in the 18 to 49. NXT did a 0.21. And the only other demo that NXT won was the ages 50 plus, the prune juice drinking senior citizens. They did a 0.32, and AEW did a 0.29. I don't know what it is, man. People probably are DVRing it. The DVR numbers and the replay numbers are not really taken into consideration during these things, which is going to boost both of these numbers dramatically on AEW and NXT side. AEW is probably trending towards closer to 1 million with the DVRs taken into consideration. Probably the same thing with NXT. They're probably trending towards 800, 900,000. A move to Tuesday night is going to benefit NXT. A move to Tuesday night for NXT is going to make AEW that much better as well as far as the numbers are concerned. Both of these audiences are one and the same. If you enjoy NXT, you're going to enjoy AEW. If you enjoy AEW, you're going to enjoy NXT. Some people just don't watch NXT because it's a WWE product. If it's a WWE affiliated product, they're not going to watch it no matter how good it is because Vince McMahon owns it. And everybody sees the decline in NXT. It's not that difficult to see. They're not the same brand. When Morrow left, they weren't the same. Working inside an empty venue, shows like that cannot thrive and operate at 100%. Same thing with AEW. That's another major reason why nobody's watching these fucking shows. Daily's Place is killing Dynamite. Daily's Place is killing the vibe that AEW has created for Dynamite. It's the same venue every single week. Same thing with the Capitol Wrestling Center. The Capitol Wrestling Center would be fine if there was fucking 500 normal people there, like usual. But operating with virtual screens and 20 people in the crowd doesn't make it an NXT show. I'm sorry. People are expired. They're done with watching pro wrestling in this manner. Will the ratings be different when AEW is uncontested on Wednesday? Probably. But how much? I don't know. NXT, the same thing. By how much? I don't know. All I know is I'll be live an extra day during the week. Disappointing. There's no growth. How many times can we use the pandemic as an excuse? AEW hasn't really done much creatively either. From year 1 to year 2, year 1 was very good. Year 2 is kind of disappointing when looking in comparison to year 1. They're not as good as they were. What's with the factions? Why is there so many factions on the show? Every single fucking person on that roster is in a goddamn faction. I don't really care for brand warfare or faction warfare. It devalues the roster. It devalues the show. You should have a hierarchy. Who's on Dynamite should be the top tier guys who you think are TV ready. Everybody else that you're throwing into these factions just to get them on TV doesn't really make Dynamite must see. Those guys should be reserved for Dark and Elevation. And when they're ready, then you bring them over slowly but surely. But having everybody in a fucking faction and trying to get them on Dynamite because you want to give everybody exposure is not the way to go about it. It's actually ruining the show. It's making people change the channel or not watch at all because people I know feel the same way that I do. It's a cluster fuck. Half of those guys shouldn't even be on television. NXT has officially moved to Tuesday night. April 13th is the new date. In an interview, Triple H commented on the move. He was interviewed by Variety, and he says this, and I quote, "We now feel like we're in a good place where we can move that constant fan base over to Tuesdays. We believe they'll follow us. That way we can grow the brand more, given the lead-in from Monday Night Raw, which we've seen in the past." End quote. The lead-in from Monday Night Raw, where Monday Night Raw is generating the lowest ratings that they've ever produced. You're looking for a lead-in from Monday Night Raw. What a way to lie to your roster, Paul. The reason for the change is due to NBC Sports Network shutting down later this year, and Wednesdays, NHL games are moving to the USA Network. WWE officials claim AEW attempted to bully them with head-to-head competition. This was laughable. This was absolutely laughable. Now, the original report claimed, and came from Meltzer, by the way, claimed that WWE officials held a team meeting before Wednesday's NXT live TV show. This is where WWE officials stated that AEW decided to go up against them on Wednesday night. It should be noted that while, yes, NXT did always air on Wednesday nights on the WWE Network, they got the TV deal with the USA Network after AEW inked their TV deal with TNT and WWE expanded NXT to a 2-hour program. The reason for the move and NXT moving to the USA Network was due to them trying to impact the growth of AEW as well as get money for the TV rights to NXT. That's why they did that. It was stated, and I quote, the team meeting before the show on Wednesday about the move to Tuesday, they told the roster. They started out talking about how 6 years ago at WrestleMania 31, I'm assuming that's San Jose, WrestleMania 31 and that NXT show in San Jose, how the little NXT promotion sold out a show, and look at how far they have come since then. End quote. Meltzer went on to then continue and say, they've always been on Wednesday nights, and then the competition came to their night and tried to bully them, which, by the way, is the opposite of what they were told 18 months ago. But now they have Raw as the lead-in. It used to be in television, the lead-in was like, you follow the show, not the next day, but now they have Raw lead-in, and they have the night to themselves. Everything is going to change. So Meltzer used the word bully. And Meltzer reported that the team meeting backstage in the NXT locker room reiterated that management told the roster that AEW tried to bully them on Wednesday night. Then there was an update. To this story. Meltzer said during Wrestling Observer Live that there was actually a team meeting before the show on Wednesdays about the move to Tuesday, and they started out talking about 6 years ago in San Jose and how AEW tried to bully them off of Wednesday nights. The word bully was said by Meltzer on the radio show, but he later tweeted out to make it clear that the word bully was not used during their backstage meeting before NXT. He said this was confirmed by two different people. Two different people said this to Meltzer. So with Triple H leading the talent meeting, the description was largely said to have said bully. And two people came and said bully was never said to the roster. Good. I don't need to go on a rant then. Because AEW didn't bully NXT off of Wednesday nights. WWE did everything with AEW in their rear view mirror. Everything. Everything that they did was a part of the AEW effect. Everything. The move to Wednesday nights was AEW. WWE purposely put AEW in a position to go up against them. They moved NXT and purposely killed NXT and the essence of NXT in this make-believe war against AEW. They ruined and took a risk on NXT being buried against a show that they knew they were never going to beat. For what? To take ratings away from them? While you actively, at the same time, kill your show by making creative decisions and show-based decisions based off what AEW was doing so that you can compete head-to-head. That whole Adam Cole, Keith Lee thing, that was an AEW effect. WWE putting an Evolve show on the same night as some AEW show, whether it was like Fyter Fest or something like that. AEW effect. WWE signing still to NXT all these talents on the indies, and the indies are dead right now. Triple H using Dark as a reference to go out and reach out to people that aren't signed to AEW yet to bring them into WWE. AEW effect. And the list goes on and on. The list goes on and on. I don't need to sit here and tell you exactly every single part of the AEW effect. NXT killed themselves by thinking they could compete with AEW. You were fine at 1 hour on the WWE Network. 1 hour, you were fine. They killed everything about NXT. Everything. No reason for the show to be 2 hours. Then all of a sudden you started to adopt main roster influence and put it on Wednesday nights because you needed entertainment. You needed sports entertainment to compete with the sports-orientated AEW. You thought that was going to make NXT a better brand in the end, and no, it didn't. I can only pray for two things. One, the move to Tuesday nights is going to slowly revert NXT back to the way it was. I doubt it, but I wish. I hope. I hope that they don't look at AEW in any which way and book NXT the way it should have been booked all along. And I hope that this new NXT Evolve show is of the NXT of old. It gives off that vibe of the NXT of old. That's what I hope for. But I know how this is going to work. As soon as AEW and NXT have their ratings come in on Tuesday and Wednesday night, respectively, for each of their shows, then people are going to compare who did the better rating based on a Tuesday and Wednesday night. Which show did the better rating? This war is never going to end with these fucking geeks on social media, because you got your AEW fans gaslighting the fucking shit out of their promotion, and God, I know for a fact it's not perfect. You say anything negative about their show, they'll block you. I found out I've been blocked by AEW accounts, not actual roster members, but AEW fans, because I'm slightly in this disagreement with what they do. Can't speak negatively about their shows or promotion in any way, shape, or form, and they don't want to hear what's in front of them. They don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear the facts. But you know these people are going to be ramping up the rating. Ha! We beat you on Tuesday night. We did a better rating on Wednesday night. But what I'm going to be looking forward to is the growth of AEW by themselves on Wednesday and how they're slowly starting to creep towards Monday Night Raw. That's the next progression here. If Monday Night Raw is doing a 1-6 or a 1-7, and AEW can pull in a 1-1 or a 1-2, 1-3 on Wednesday night unopposed, that's the rating I'm going to be looking at. Fuck NXT. The demos for AEW compared to Monday Night Raw, that's the shit I'm going to see. Normally, with the move to Tuesday night, you figure AEW's ratings are going to go up in every demographic. Overall viewership going to go up. We'll see. We'll see. Plans for fans attending NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. Fightful is reporting that the tentative plans is to allow limited fans in attendance in the same method as NXT TV has allowed those in the past. There will actually be 2 nights of TakeOver tapings instead of filming it all in one night. Good. None of this should be taped. It should all be live. It was added that fans attending the tapings will be subject to COVID testing at no cost to them ahead of the show. Hopefully there's more than 30 fucking people in attendance. I want to see numbers. I want to see large numbers of people. CWC could fit, 500 people? Give me half that. Space them out. Takeovers deserve live audience. Otherwise, it just looks like an NXT tape. It looks like an NXT taping. It's not what TakeOver deserves. NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver will happen Wednesday, April 7th on the USA Network and Thursday, April 8th on Peacock exclusively. Night 1 headliner, Io Shirai, will defend against Raquel Gonzalez. Raquel Gonzalez is absolutely taking that title off of Io Shirai. MSK versus the Grizzled Young Veterans versus Legado del Fantasma. I'm going with the Grizzled Young Veterans, with MSK taking the titles at a later date off of the Grizzled Young Veterans. They're too good to let them sit there and have titles slip through their fingers again. The 2 Dusty Classics they were in, they didn't win. Now they got a tag team title opportunity. You're going to have them blow this one too? Have them win the titles, give them a small reign, have MSK beat them in a standard tag team match. That's the way I do it. Should be a great match nonetheless. Walter versus Tommaso Ciampa with the UK title on the line. Walter is never losing that title. Should be a great match. It's the one match I'm looking forward to most on night 1. Gauntlet Eliminator with the winner challenging for the North American title. Bronson Reed, Dexter Lumis, Cameron Grimes, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Leon Ruff, and L.A. Knight. I'm going with Dexter Lumis. It's the only match that makes sense as far as Johnny Gargano is concerned. And I think Dexter Lumis will take the title off of Johnny Gargano on night 2. Pete Dunne versus Kushida. They just added to night 1. I'm going with Pete Dunne. And then the NXT title match. This is the night 2 headliner. Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross. I'm going with Karrion Kross. Cruiserweight title unification match. Ladder match. Santos Escobar versus Jordan Devlin. I'm going with Jordan Devlin. Johnny Gargano, who I think will defend against Dexter Lumis. I'm going with Dexter Lumis. Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly. I'm going with Kyle O'Reilly. And WWE's women's tag team titles, NXT tag team titles, Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart versus Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. I'm going with Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. Johnny's losing the titles, and I think the ladies will keep the championship gold alive in the way. Still don't think tag team titles are needed in NXT, but here we are. Should be great. I'm looking forward to it on both nights. Sounds like a damn good, fun 2-night event. I think we could do one night. Everything that they're doing in 2 nights, they could do in 1 night, but we'll see what happens. Monday Night Raw was fucking garbage. Monday Night Raw ratings for the 329 sets, or the 329 show set a new low for 2021. Not really shocked, depending how bad the show was. Showbuzz Daily says the show averaged a 1.70 million viewership on the USA Network. That is down from the previous week of 1.816. This was the lowest rated episode of Monday Night Raw all year. I wonder how management feels. WrestleMania season, and you're accumulating the lowest Raw rating of the entire year in the middle of WrestleMania season. Hour 1 did a 1.73. Hour 2 did a 1.69. And Hour 3 did a 1.67. The show deserves the rating that it got. It was fucking terrible. Sheamus went up against Matt Riddle. Xavier Woods went up against AJ Styles. Bobby Lashley went up against Shelton Benjamin. Drew McIntyre wrestled Ricochet. And then later Ali. Next week's Raw is taped, which I'll get to in a second. And that is the go-home edition for Monday Night Raw heading into WrestleMania 37. Monday Night Raw is being taped on, or it's already been taped, but it's going to be a tape show airing Monday. PW Insider reports that the plan is to hold a multi-woman tag team match the first night of WrestleMania 37. It could be a fatal 4-way depending on what we've seen on SmackDown, but that may change. Either way, WWE is setting up this match during the tapings, meaning Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan, Tamina and Natalya. Then you got Naomi and Lana. I think Mandy Rose and catering. And then Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I don't know what type of multi-woman match it's going to be. Who gives a shit? I'll probably fucking force myself to take a dump in the middle of that match. I don't care. I don't care. I'll make sure I'll eat some fucking shit that's going to make me have the shits later on in the show, and I'm going to fucking save it for that match. Who could possibly give a fuck about the women's tag team title situation on the main roster? Awful. Anyway, Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle had this botch on Monday Night Raw. And backstage news came out that Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard got a legitimate laugh out of it. They legitimately cracked up laughing over Matt Riddle's botch on Monday Night Raw. For anybody that was wondering if the Matt Riddle botch was scripted, it turns out that he legitimately forgot his lines during his backstage segment with Asuka. As you could imagine, everybody thought that this guy was going to get buried and going to be in hot water, going to be in the doghouse on Monday Night Raw. Asuka was talking about his scooter, and then he asked Asuka if people in Japan liked scooters. Matt Riddle then forgot the rest of his lines as Asuka looked on, very confused with this very confused look on her face. On Raw Talk, MVP joked with Riddle about him forgetting his lines, but there was speculation online that he botched the line, and it was actually scripted. He actually was scripted to do so. Brian Alvarez noted on Wrestling Observer Live that this was a legitimate botch, and people in management were laughing about it as it happened. Alvarez said, and I quote, "Remember on Monday night when Riddle was doing that thing and he forgot his line? I was debating if this was real or if this was a work, because the way that they do Riddle's character, I strongly believed it was a work, because how do you not know your line? The whole thing was just bizarre." Well, in fact, it was a shoot. Yep, they did not tell him. I haven't fully figured out the story yet, because the story I was told actually doesn't make a lot of sense. The story I was told was he wasn't told it was live, but Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon saw it, and they just laughed and laughed and laughed. So if it was live, you can't redo it. So I'm wondering what actually happened was a pre-tape that he screwed up, but they loved the pre-tape so much, and the point of what you saw on TV was not the plan. He was supposed to deliver his line. He had some line about the scooters in Japan. He screwed it up. They laughed, and they thought we could put this on television. Never mind the fact that it makes your promotion look like World Championship Wrestling. It's all about entertaining themselves. It entertained Bruce. It entertained Vince. And so it went on television. That's the story on Riddle and forgetting his line. He actually forgot his line, and they thought it was funny. End quote. I love being right, man. I swear to God, man, I'm the best at what I do. I've said this for weeks now. Matt Riddle is a geek. I love Matt Riddle, but he is a fucking cringe, channel-changing character on Monday Night Raw. They ruined all genuine feel of Matt Riddle's character. I've been saying this for weeks. WWE is not booking and scripting Matt Riddle in a way that NXT did. In NXT, they were booking him, laughing with him. This is clear as day to what I mentioned for weeks. WWE is treating Matt Riddle like a comedy geek for their own personal entertainment. They're not laughing with him. They're laughing at him. And if you need any more proof to that and my statement, that should seal the deal. What a disgrace. Bruce and Vince are writing to amuse themselves. Bruce and Vince are writing these shows to do what they want to do. Us, they fucking hate us, man. Just like I said, ranting about the Hurt Business. Alexa Bliss, this is an exclusive of sorts, may be getting her own Fiend mask as part of this Bray Wyatt storyline. Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt's union on WWE television made a lot of fans wonder what the company is planning next. There are a lot of ideas floating around right now, with only a few interesting possibilities. Ringside News has learned that a pitch has been made to give Alexa Bliss her own mask during this storyline. They haven't debuted this mask yet, but the idea is still out there. We were told here at Ringside News that I wouldn't be shocked if a Bliss mask shows up, because they're always looking at new versions of those characters. End quote. It is unknown how far along the idea is for an Alexa Bliss mask, or if it was actually created, but one pitch included debuting the mask at the Royal Rumble. Obviously, that didn't happen, and Bliss was eliminated fairly quickly as she attempted her transformation in the ring, eliminated by Rhea Ripley. Bray Wyatt, which would probably make a lot more sense for Alexa Bliss to target Rhea Ripley and have that be her WrestleMania match instead of Rhea Ripley challenge Asuka, which makes no sense. Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss storyline has been one of the worst parts of Monday Night Raw. This match with Randy Orton has absolutely no momentum at all, and the company plans to continue evolving the dynamic of Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss well after WrestleMania and their match with Randy Orton. Great, another fucking mask. Wow, man, Alexa Bliss is going to be wearing a mask. Why would you put a mask on Alexa Bliss? She's the prettiest thing in that entire storyline. You want to actually look at Alexa Bliss. You don't want to hide her behind a fucking mask. Give me a break. Like the satanic pentagrams and the fucking satanic jack-in-the-box and the fucking rituals and the blood and the sacrifices aren't enough, right? You got to put her in a fucking mask. WWE, like I said, spoiler for 2 WrestleMania matches announced during the Raw tapings. This is coming on Monday, and the entire WrestleMania will end with this. This is the entire WrestleMania card so far coming out of the Monday Night Raw tapings. Bobby Lashley will defend the championship, the WWE title against Drew McIntyre. Sasha Banks will challenge Bianca Belair for the Smackdown Tag Team Championships. The Smackdown Women's Championship. I'm so ingrained that they're fighting over the Tag Team Championships that I still think that it's the main priority in their storyline now. The Smackdown Women's Championship. Bad Bunny versus The Miz. Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. And The New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. And like I said, that multi-woman tag team title match may be included on night 1. Night 1 sounds horrific. It really does. Night 2, Roman Reigns defends the Universal title against Edge and Daniel Bryan. Asuka versus Rhea Ripley. Randy Orton versus The Fiend. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Big E versus Apollo Crews in a Nigerian drum match. No DQ. Matt Riddle versus Sheamus. Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon in a steel cage match. That's WrestleMania. I don't know if they're going to add another match tonight too, but that is night 2 for now. But the women's tag team title match should be added to night 1, as night 1 is looking a little weak. That match is going to make it more weaker, but night 1 sounds horrific. It really does. Outside of Sasha and Bianca, and Cesaro and Rollins, I'm interested in. I really don't give a shit about anything on night 1. This WrestleMania fucking sucks. It really does. Guys, I'm getting out of here. I appreciate y'all. This was a long show. There was a lot to sift through here. If you enjoyed the podcast today, let me know with a thumbs up. Let me know with a comment down below. If you made it this far into the video, use the hashtag down below in the comments. WrestleMania sucks. That's what I want to see in the comments if you made it this far in the video. Guys, hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JD from NY206. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. Bonfire for your t-shirts. Bonfire.com. Mouthmasker.com/OTS for your white and your black off the script masks. Make sure you guys go check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel this week, and go and get yourself a Ridge. Ridge.com/script10. This is the last time we'll be seeing them for a long time on the podcast, unless they want to come to me and pay me some more money to promote their product, which I absolutely love. This is the last time we'll be seeing the Ridge for a little bit on the channel. So go and get yourself a Ridge wallet today. Use code SCRIPT10 at checkout for 10% off. And guys, I will see you right back here on Monday night for the Monday Night Raw go-home show for WrestleMania 37. It should be awful as it's a tape show, but I'll see you guys back with a brand new week, busy week of content. WrestleMania week. Off the Script is going to be your #1 destination for everything WrestleMania. Till then, guys, hit that thumbs up, and I'll see you guys later.